The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different response. And without mindfulness and guided imagery and self-discipline, we will default to self-sabotaging behaviors. Some common self-sabotaging behaviors is alcoholism, gambling, pornography, infidelity, overspending, taking excess overtime, and then avoiding responsibility of self. These behaviors can happen and are common because what is utilized in first response is the dopamine and adrenaline hits while on duty. When off duty, we can attempt to maintain that same high and those dopamine and adrenaline hits that then create self-sabotaging behaviors behind the scenes. When we're in a place of avoidance, then we're also ignoring our own issues, we're denying our behaviors, we're resisting support, we're blaming others, we're rationalizing the behaviors, and we're keeping it hidden, and then shame and guilt is among that cycle as well. Real world example of getting stuck in the avoidance loop, it could look like, because I had a hard day, I deserve this drink. Because I have trouble sleeping, I deserve this drink. Because I had a good day, I deserve to celebrate with a drink. And unfortunately, that speeds up to where the speeding up process leads to addiction, and then at some point, a loss of relationship, a loss of career, or a loss of self. Also, it's important to be aware of the overtime trap because it's always there and available to first responders. However, as you increase your overtime, so does the cumulative stress. And with that comes avoidance of the family, the spouses, the kids, and of self, and the behaviors and self-destructing attitudes. When we become aware of the issue and others bring it first to our attention, which is usually accountability partners such as spouses, peers, family members, once we have the awareness, we can then start to be accountable for the resources and to stop and disrupt the cycles of which that we can fall into. Some signs of cumulative stress can be anger, sarcasm, and dark humor to where it can become really hypercritical of self and others, feeling dread of going to work. It can be wanting to isolate and be alone, and isolation is a big culprit in self-sabotage. You usually want to do the opposite of wanting to isolate. You should be among others, reaching out for support. Some therapies that can be utilized for coping mechanisms and to address self-sabotage can be cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's learning to catch and correct and interrupt the cycle of thinking. Dialectical behavioral therapy is learning to take the action outside of the intensity of the feeling of an addiction or of depression or anxiety. And then EMDR is a great coping mechanisms for first responders and veterans themselves to address any kind of trauma, cumulative stress, addictions. That can be a phenomenal resource to utilize. Some common addictions that we see that lead to self-sabotage is prostitution. When we're looking back at the hindsight, it started with pornography, increase of pornography, the types of pornography, the hookup apps, even down to open marriages and living the lifestyle, and then just the indulgence without the self-regulation that can lead up to the place of which then they're now getting popped with prostitution, not recognizing where it speeded up along the way until they lost a job or lost a marriage. Also included with pornography is the online interactive apps and websites. Then they're getting into the illusion of intimacy, even to the place of which that people are finding themselves in debt because they're paying for those resources and that self-gratification at the cost of oftentimes their marriages and true intimate relationships. And so then they're working overtime to pay for the resources to utilize for the instant gratification, avoidance of intimacy, and avoidance of self. Specific for like pornography or sex addictions, it may be the delayed response. It may be setting app controls. I've had people where they've even had an accountability partner, even if it's a friend or someone else or among church, that they will utilize resources to change the password of their own phone so that they're not able to access those instant gratification apps. There's Covenant Eyes, which is a resource to be accountable for marriages if dealing with pornography, and that's an issue among a marriage. We are located in the Woodlands, Texas. We do virtual counseling and in-person counseling. We have 7 staff members on staff that are available to help and counsel first responders, their marriages, their families. We're here to help and serve in a genuine way, in a confidential way, and a non-judgmental way, and we are here for you.